So, dear colleagues, welcome back after the lovely break, exhibition, and really delicious refreshment. Thanks for that. I hope you did have chance to A, refresh, B, continue with the debates, clarifications from the morning, because it has been a lot fruits for thought, which is brilliant. So we are going to be continuing. Back in 2023, FEPS launched the digital program with a wide range of Nordic partners and the support of Nordic trade unions to focus on understanding algorithmic management and workers' rights across Nordic countries. Using company case studies on firms that use algorithmic management, worker surveys and focus groups, and analyzing online platforms. This program has put together research of the most recent developments to understand the true extent of algorithmic management. To discuss the findings, I would like to invite Gerard Oosterwijk, political advisor, sorry for my mispronunciation, political advisor to the member of the European Parliament and SND Vice President Agius Saliba, and Monty, policy analyst, sorry, on digital at FEPS, to please take the floor and present to us the key findings of the FEPS-Nordic Digital Programme 2023-2024 and the highlights of the 2025-2026 edition. Sorry for me looking at the other side. So you've got the floor. If we could fit, no, we fit into the time frame. We will fit. Lovely. Floor is yours.
Gerard will commence.
Lovely.
So let me start. Thank you for having me. What I'm going to do is squeeze 2 years of research with multiple research groups in 10 minutes. So bear with me. I'll be going quickly, but please know that the slides are there. The material is all on the website of FEPS, so you can read up on it if you want. So from FEPS, it's important to go maybe a few steps back. Like we have been working, and that's even before my time, because I was at FEPS for a few years, but before my time, Justin Nogerede, who was here, has been working before that on the digital topics. We worked a lot on platform work, and I think that's where we know this algorithmic management in its purest form is happening. It's been a big discussion also policy-wise here on the EU level with the Platform Work Directive, championed by one of the S&D commissioners, Nicolas Schmid. We know that this is problematic for the platform workers. That's why there's now European rules to put a limit to what you can do with algorithmic management. Because actually they don't have a human boss. They have just the algorithm telling them what to do through their app. And as FEPS, we continued from that. So what also happened in, as you can see, March 2023, so relatively recent work, we looked into the dark stores, which is more about the grocery deliveries. So not that much about, so it's a subsection, you could say, of the platform work, where actually we found out that even though people get contracts, often 0-hour contracts, which is one part of the Platform Work Directive, which was really about the bogus self-employment and the false entrepreneurship and how workers' rights are being implemented by the platforms. That's not the case there because they get a contract, even though it's 0 hours. But also a lot of findings came to the front about the pressure that they get from the algorithm to deliver on time. If you are promising as a company to deliver something within 10 minutes, you can imagine the pressure on a worker to rush through the traffic with also real occupational health and safety risks. A lot of accidents that happened, showing that there needs to be a limit to what you allow with algorithmic management in the platform sector. From that departing point, we developed this digital program. We had quite a brainstorming. It was from the start with the Nordic partners of FEPS. We are a pan-European organization with memberships all over Europe. but there was an interest from the Nordic partners to work on the digital topics. And together with trade unions, we were finding out, okay, what do we want to work on? And from this, we came on the topic of algorithmic management in the workplace. And in everything that we did, it's of course, it's a pan-European project in a sense, but it's also the Nordic dimension. Because in the Nordic model, as most of you probably will know, there's a very strong co-determination, also a positive outlook towards technology. So if we could get this right somewhere, that's a bit the hypothesis, it would be in the Nordics. It's maybe also where things are happening earlier when it comes to technology, although that's not per se proven. But this was a bit the idea. Let's see how this is developed in the Nordics, because this will be a great lesson also for the rest of Europe. We started off, so this is already the first the publication that we did. It's more a literature study on algorithmics and the workers and for the workers, where already we saw on the existing research, participation of workers is essential in innovation, but that there is a need for the social institutional framework if you really want to get to a worker-centric approach to this digital transformation, and that the co-determination needs to be continuous, because these changes are happening non-stop. It's not a one-off thing and then decided and then will be implemented. It's more, with these technological changes that happen all the time. So this has an impact also on co-determination of workers. We had a big discussion. Some of you maybe were there at the LO Sweden in Stockholm. I think 21st of September 23 is that then? So where already it came to the forefront from the discussion. We had leading experts there sharing their ideas that the transparency when it comes to these algorithmic systems is often lacking when it's introduced, but also when it's applied, and also the point of extreme worker surveillance that has been made possible through these tools, and how this can create higher stress with workers that has health effects. Again, the negotiation position of workers. So the power of the trade union is also a determinant when it comes to the effective implementation, but also the effective influence on this these systems. So from this was still existing research. We did some real new, fresh research, which was, first of all, a worker survey. So 6,000 workers in the Nordics of different sectors, different trade unions in 4 countries did this survey, where we asked them about algorithmic management. I think at the time it's one of the first that did this on this scale with significant results, because, you know, if you have only a few results, a few responses, you cannot be significant. It's not significant for the whole of Europe, but at least for these countries and for these sectors, it was very significant how much data we gathered. And I think the first shocking result was that in the sectors that we investigated, and I must say that we, of course, chose certain sectors where we knew things were happening, but there it shows that 76% of the workers are being confronted with at least one or more algorithmic management tool. So this is already old data. It's the data of end of 2023, so we're already a bit further. But it's showing that this is not something of the future, it's something of the now. Maybe not everywhere in every member state and maybe in every sector, but it's something that's happening now. So it's not about like what are we going to do in the future, but what are we going to do now? And we saw some really adverse effects on autonomy, on trust, job motivation, workload, job insecurity. But we also showed that we can improve this through transparency and worker influence. But even if you do that, if you are fully transparent and if you have a lot of workers' influence, you remain with certain issues of occupational health and safety, because the workload, stress and job insecurity, they do not change. And I must say it's Magnus Thorn Jensen who did the most of this work, so not to take any credit for this, and there are several of the authors of the different surveys per country are here. So we did per country also reports with different authors there. So to go a bit in the details of this study, I already shared a bit the thing, but as you can see, we did 4 countries in the Nordics with different trade unions. You see that we also split it, of course, per task. How much did we find? Task allocation was a big one, 34%, shift scheduling, tracking working time, location tracking happening a lot. Monitoring of computer activity, work speed monitoring, performance evaluation, and leaderboard. The last one is really like that you show on a real-time basis how different workers are performing. So if you see then the effects that we found, I go also with the data, I can go back. Like I said, autonomy went down, trust went down, job satisfaction and motivation. While the workload goes up, stress goes up, and job insecurity goes up. And this was all significant. So you really see that there is a significant effect on these factors compared to workers that are not faced with these tools. So you see the difference between a normal, like a worker that's not dealing with algorithm management and a worker that is. The thing is that we found that this employee influence can mitigate this. You see that it becomes neutral for autonomy, trust and satisfaction and job motivation if you have high employee influence. And like I said, the workload, the stress and insecurity, workload became a bit less with a lot of influence, of course, because you negotiate perhaps as workers, but stress and insecurity don't change that much, even though there's a worker influence. You saw the data. I don't have to go into the details. So for us, the conclusion of this worker survey was it's already widespread, this algorithmic management. There's negative consequences, but there's also factors that can moderate these adverse effects, employee involvement, but transparency as well. So let us put an emphasis on that. Let's try to have a higher employee influence, co-determination as one of the solutions, but also the transparency on the algorithmic management. Besides the survey, so that was more quantitative and a data analysis, we did also case studies in 3 countries in the end, because we did quite a lot of work on Denmark in different parts of the project. We didn't do Denmark, we did do Finland, Sweden and Norway. Different sectors. So we looked at the transport and the retail in Finland. We worked with the warehousing sector and retail also in Sweden, and then more white-collar workers in Norway. So it was the finance sector and the journalism, so the news sector. Also to not only look at the blue-collar worker, but also the white-collar worker. And in the end, like one of the things that we found is the 2 intersecting levels of impact of algorithmic management. As you saw in the survey as well, it's the influence of the worker, so the balance of power between labor and capital, we called it. So how much power do you have to influence this is an important factor, also for worker rights and well-being. But this skewed balance, so the disbalance that's there in the power, is reducing the influence that you can have as a worker, which is then in the end diminishing the well-being of workers, because then there's a disbalance also in the implementation of algorithmic management. So very important to keep in mind. This spiral might be negative if we don't intervene. I will share a few. I don't know if I have still enough time. 2 minutes. So Finland retail and transport logistics sector. One of the things that we found, for example, is that if you are implementing the system without involving the workers, you might just get it wrong. So you really need to work with the workers. It was, for example, in retail in a shop. How many people do you schedule in the morning to open a shop? If you just look at how many customers are there, you get it wrong. But also there is if you see with products, how much time does it take to shelf? There is just a different in different products. So how detailed do you go into that? And the reality was, with the case study, that it's not automatically taken into account, and you get really negative effects for workers if you just implement algorithmic management without really checking and consulting and improving on the go. Same with the transport. This was about the garbage collection. They make calculations, but they don't take into account the experience of the workers. And one of the things that was mentioned, the Finnish winters, if you are taking a route that is just taken into account, like summer conditions, winter conditions will be different. Other thing was if bins are, that they are empty, but you still have to touch them to get through. So all of these things. And this will be the last. I cannot do all the case studies. They're all on our website. But here you saw this loss of autonomy. The contextual knowledge and discretion for workers is essential if you want to get this right. Not only for the workers' well-being, but also for the result, for the effect, how much you get out of it. Another thing that was very important to realize is that all of this data is being gathered for workers, and they often have to work for it as well to keep the data. So they have to do things to keep the data. So we're becoming data workers. So how do we go about that? You know, just the data, it's not only surveillance, but also activity, extra work, extra workload also for workers to gather the data. And there was a role creep and shifting in burdens, so more burdens on the worker to do certain tasks that before maybe was done by somebody else, because it's partly automated, but still you have to do, you know, certain tasks that in the algorithmic management are being pushed on certain workers. To stop here on this point, so the trust really matters. If you work together between the management, the employer, and the worker, you can make use of these tools to have a positive outcome. But if you are just like top-down pushing this in and maybe buying off the shelf a certain tool, and then the effects are all negative, the trust will go down, the results will go down as well, because then you know, it just doesn't work. So I think, again, like it's not just us asking or begging or asking nicely to have workers' influence or to have this adjustability and the co-determination, but it's actually also important for the results for both workers and the company. So I think I stop there. Monty, the time is out. I can talk for another half an hour, but I think I did both sides of the work justice, the survey and the case studies. But please check it out. Maybe a final word, because we have studies, for example, on journalism and finance, where it's a different dynamic. White-collar workers, you know, finance is more about the securitization. You have compliance that you have to do, and then automatically you are gathering all this information, and algorithmic management is often part of this package. But it has a big effect also on these finance workers, to give one example.
I would say 3 minutes.
30, no?
Look, that's nice, but you both have seen the agenda. There's any question and answers. No. Please try to be brief. I thought you noticed that there is question and answers part within the half an hour of yours, guys. Lessons learned for me, try to do it briefly. That's it.
I'll be very rapid, I promise. So welcome everyone also on behalf of me. My name is Monty. I'm the digital policy analyst at FEPS. Gerard is my predecessor, and Justin, who was here this morning, is our predecessor, so the whole trio was present. I'm going to very briefly talk to you about the next chapter of our program, which has officially, as of today, kicked off. So very briefly, we now have a consortium with many new faces, or many familiar faces, some departures and also some exciting new faces. But the bottom line is, with the exception of Iceland, we've kept the full coverage of the Nordics geographically, and we have coverage over a very broad range of sectors and professions across the Nordic labor market. And at the bottom line, 9 partners and 6 unions who are going to support us this time around, and Demos Helsinki as our research partner. We'll skip this one. So we have overall 3 new work streams, which we will focus on 3 pillars. Firstly, algorithmic management in the workplace. I will talk more in detail in a second. Understanding the impact of AI on decision-making in the public sector, and understanding the impact of AI on worker productivity. So firstly, the algorithmic management work stream. Here we're really building on the previous program. So Gerard mentioned we have a bunch of data, and now we're really moving to action. So how can we create a practical resource for trade unions that help them navigate these new developments? Because as we heard already this morning, technology will not by default develop in a labor-friendly direction. It needs a strong normative framework, and by looking at, for example, collective bargaining agreements that cover these topics, we hope to learn more. Then secondly, we will look at the public sector. The book that was presented this morning, I think, is the first invitation to think more about these topics. But we're going to look also more in detail at how AI is being implemented in the public sector across the Nordics at different levels, regional, local, national, and ask some very fundamental questions. So, for example, who initiates the decision to get an AI system in the public sector? But also questions like, how does the AI system affect civil servants' professional discretion and autonomy, which are topics we don't talk about that much in the AI debate. The Dutch welfare case this morning was mentioned. One of the big issues there was that social workers with decades of experience were not empowered to question the algorithm's decisions, which led to a slew of really horrible decisions. So we are going to produce a bunch of case studies here and dissect them quite meticulously to answer these crucial questions. And then last but not least, of course, understanding the impact of AI on worker productivity. I think this is a very important one because we're also bombarded with this almost messianic messaging around AI that is going to boost productivity to the stars and eliminate all the boring jobs. And it's obviously still a big question mark to what degree this will manifest. What is, however, becoming quite clear is that there's been relatively few technologies that have seen an uptake as fast as AI has shown us in the past years. So it's very important to look at, okay, does it result in a productivity gain? And if so, who captures that benefit? Is it the workers? Is it the employers? So here we're going to do an in-depth quantitative study in the Danish labor market to answer these questions and to also look at what roles can and should unions play. Then just very briefly when you can expect this to be delivered. So we're now already towards the end of 2025. We launched the book today. We will have our tour in the Nordics in the first quarter of next year. So if you're from Helsinki or the area or Oslo or Copenhagen, please stay in touch because we will be visiting all three. Then in the second quarter, we will be publishing the results of our study on productivity as well as the case studies and host a conference. And towards the end of next year, we will publish the remainder of our work, so the toolkit, and have a conference and a roundtable on the back of these as well. That sums it up. These are our plans. We will be getting to work as of tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. So I'm inviting you all to please bear with us, and we will keep you in touch of our work as it comes out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for really trying to wrap it up in a very effective way. I mean, your plans are clear. I can remember I have heard your part of the presentation. Was it 2 years ago or something like that? I was quite amazed by it. So was today. So
we were here in this room, I think.
Yeah, yes.
1 year ago. 1 year
last
ago.
Year?
In October.
In October last year. Time is passing really fast. But to give you a few minutes for reflection, or rather questions towards the two panelists you have just heard, the moment is now. I can see Miro, and I can see Ida. Okay, you can start shortly. One and a half minute, no more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to all. Sorry.
No, thank you, but Ida, you can continue, don't worry. I will be really short. My question is about the Internet of Things. It's the network which is connecting the devices, the sensors. Many companies, they are using to monitoring the location, movement, the performance, the safety condition, etc. But last month, in September, we have the EU Data Act. So these providers who are providing this kind of IoT tools, networks, have to change, and they cannot sell the data from the IoT stuff. So my question is, how the Nordic countries doing with these providers who are providing these sensors, etc., and how will we implement the EU Data Act in the Nordic countries?
Thank you very much. That was a pretty concrete question. Ida, please go ahead.
Right. So thank you, and again, congratulations, because this has been fantastic work, and I really appreciate, and I want to use it, and I'm really happy to be close to you, if I can say so. My question is to Monty. You spoke about having a follow-up project on AI in the public services, and the question is about how to measure or how to know how much autonomy are workers having. What do you mean by autonomy? Because it's also a concept that I use a lot. What would you like to measure, whether it's a professional autonomy or autonomy as part of human integrity and dignity, which is a fundamental right, or autonomy as just self-determination capacity in the Kantian way? What is your idea behind that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as a last speaker, Florian, shortly, please.
Thank you so much. First of all, congratulations for all the studies. I think they are very good. I have a very specific question. Sorry. How do you see the relation with the trade union values more exactly within the collective bargaining process? How AI is affecting the negotiation process? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That would deserve much more than 2 minutes each, but please try to get there.
Yes, and I think for the Data Act, it's a very good question, and I think that the project that we did was kind of like in the similar at a similar time as the Data Act, you know, like it was maybe just voted or just like developed. So I think this is very much a question that's now on the table. The digital omnibus that will be presented in 2 weeks, I think, will also touch on the Data Act, because there's exactly this question. You were talking about implementation. I will not have an answer for you on that, but I think it's a valid question. So please follow up, maybe also with the people in the Nordics, how they deal with this. But I do know that the Data Act, exactly about this point, what will happen with all the industrial data, which is often this workers' data. That's a question that's now being pushed, because there's also a big pushback of, you know, intellectual property of the companies, trade secrets. So I don't think that's the last, like from a political, like European Parliament hat that I have as well here a little bit. This discussion is not yet over, because it will be resurfacing as part of the digital omnibus. At the same time, it's maybe also an opportunity to strengthen a bit the data rights of workers, if you understand what I mean. So I think we need to be very attentive to that. I don't have the answer for the Nordics, but I do have, you know, a feeling that this is a discussion that we'll be having. And then the second question was about the trade union values. I think there was one thing, and I didn't get to there because I had more slides than I could discuss in the time. There is a real tension about the negotiation, because we had a lot of in the case studies, so please read up on it if you want. This material is quite valuable on how this dynamic is on the co-determination. Because on the one hand, if you are negotiating on these technical processes, which are often presented just as technical, even though they are working condition issues, so that's already one. Do you have it on the table? But once it's on the table, it's a very difficult choice if the companies is playing this out against, like, you know, your wage increase, which is like maybe your first priority is to get like a higher wage for your members versus these technical changes. So I think that's the tension that we did find in the case studies. It's not that we have a solution for that. What I do think is that it's important that it's on the table, because often it's off the table because it's just like, oh, it's just a technical change. And when do you discuss it? Every update. You're not going to discuss every IT update. So it's presented as technical, while it is partly co-determination about working conditions. And the trade-off, you're being played out a little bit sometimes. Like, okay, you can get a higher wage, but if we're going to do this, then we cannot, you know. So that's a real challenge, I would say.
Thank you very much, Monty.
Yes, so to answer the question on autonomy in the civil service, so thanks a lot for that question. Maybe to preface, we will define this tomorrow in our internal workshop, so this is just my personal thoughts on this. I must admit I don't have let's say, a developed philosophical framework in which I can integrate autonomy, but when I think about it, I think about, first of all, the decision of a civil servant to use the system in the first place, if it's implemented. Then secondly, the degree to which they have the time and the resources to deviate from a decision that a system makes, because if you work under continuous time pressure and you, for example, have to justify deviating from an automatic decision-making process, that can be a legitimate constraint, and the degree to which you would then have to justify why you deviate. So I would say the spectrum in between AI as a tool versus something that is quite prescriptive and where it requires significant time and resources on behalf of the human to justify why they don't follow it.
Thank you both. Very, very straightforward answers to the question, so thank you. And we are now moving to the tech talks on worker-centric AI in practice. Why does it look like? By Raymond Kristiansen, Project Manager of the Norwegian Association of Engineers and Technicians, NITO, and Peder Sefland, Head of the AI Professional Network, also from NITO. A specialist in the AI technologies, Raymond and Peder will walk us through practical examples and insights into what a truly worker-centric approach to AI looks like in real-world settings. So following your presentation, guys, we would like to have some space for questions, answers, and comments. So 30 minutes in total within the debate. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the discussion so far today. My name is Raymond, and my colleague here, Peder, we will be here today. So I'm testing this clicker first. So this is a shift of shift of things. What does it look like? We don't know what it looks like, but we know what it might look like. So if you take the box, Peder, so this is AI in a box. So local AI in a box. So if you take it more up. So within this box, we have a model. If you can unmute yourself, and this is how.
Yeah. So this is local AI, and you can run it offline. Doesn't have to be online. And you can bring sensitive data, and you can feed it with the sensitive data and let it work on it overnight, maybe. Depends on how good you need it to be. And then you can talk about it next day and extract all the findings that you want and save it on a memory stick, still offline. And then you just take out the disk or wipe the disk, and nothing has left the room, or because it's been offline all the time. This is an easier way because you have to do a lot of risk assessments and GDPR and a lot of things. So this way you may come earlier to the point. So that's one of the benefits. One of the other thing is that you can measure the power consumption. So from environmental, you can document how much power you have spent on AI. And then you have control of your data. And also if internet is down, if there's a really big takeout, you still have access to your AI solution. So, and you also get more hands-on. I think a lot of us needs to understand AI. We need to get more hands on it, and this is just another way. I'm not against cloud services and that sort of thing, but I could show you how to make your own AI model in 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a quick introduction. Thank you, Peder.
Sorry.
So the point was, so we're trying, objectives of this talk is to have this clear mental model of where AI decisions should live. You know, should they live in a cloud? Should we trust Microsoft? Should we trust whatever, you know, a cloud provider is out there? Or should it be local? And in this talk, our main point is local could be a key. Not, of course, not the only key, the keychain. So we will also have 3 cases of how it might work, and we want today to sort of push towards sort of a lightweight toolkit. So afterwards, you can take a look at it as well and touch the AI. So we have the history of data hoarding. You know, we all get that, and we know that with AI, even more sensitive information, you know, comes into the model and trains the model. Unless you have, you know, you pay more, then you can. They promise that we will not give it to Musk or anybody else, but you still have that fear, and that fear is affecting also, you know, the intake of the potential of these technologies. And the fear is, you know, it's not irrational; it's real irrational, and the risk is all over the place. So our approach is, instead of being required to trust OpenAI or Microsoft or Anthropic or the other big ones, mostly American, or you have Mistral in Europe, thank God, but we need more of them. What if we take up data processing locally? What then? You know, what pros and cons do we have? And you know, local AI is not always useful, but it could be useful, and it's safer in some sense, and it can be simple. We can teach you afterwards in 10 minutes, maybe. But we also need to be aware of the specifics of this. This is not like a magic bullet that can do anything, everything on the get-go. And the question of convenience, Christina talked about it earlier today. Convenience. It's so easy to just put everything in the cloud, and then you know you don't need to back up. Everything is secure. everything is within reach of, different agencies in the US and so on. So that's our approach. So we try to be pragmatic in this talk. I'm well aware of the time, so I have my clock here on the phone. Thank you. We want questions. Questions are gold, and I want to give that time. So it's 15:05 at the moment. And nothing we state in this talk is against what has been said earlier. So we're not trying to say, oh, AI is great. We're trying to say a different way of approaching it. So you can use a computer, which is a computer you don't need for anything else. And that computer can be your AI computer. You use anything LLM on that. It's for Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. And then you use it. So now hopefully the technology works for us with the demo. And in this video, Peder, if you can unmute, and then you can walk us through this 1 minute.
Okay. So this is the desktop, and I'm just showing here that I'm going offline. So if you saw on the corner, I was offline. And then you upload your documents, you drop and drag, and you make the AI model train on your documents. And then you can start chatting with your documents. And it's literally just like this. And you may have some slower response on the local AI because, it depends on how much money you can put on the hardware. But the Copilot is not free. So you have to put some money somewhere. And here we can see the results of this asking. So, this was give me a summary of this PDF, and this was a FEPS paper, and it gives me the bullet points, and everything is in offline. And there is also a show citation, and this is a movie now, but if I clicked on the show citation, then I can see which documents he has found these findings.
Thank you, Peder. So moving on, so this was offline, okay, and the speed was not great. So if you're expecting cloud speed, because that is being run in a data center, for instance in Amsterdam, then you are
more power.
Then you need more, So you need more power then, but this box, is in the middle of the mid-range. So speed is directly related to a hardware you have, and of course also the different LLMs have different speeds. So then you have the dedicated solution. So the video was from a computer, like any computer, running the software locally, and then you can upgrade to these solutions. I'll not do the kind of bullet point talking about the bullet points, but so last month, okay, NVIDIA, biggest company in the world at the moment, but they are having the Spark product, which is in some benchmarks pretty good. You can run a large language model with 200 billion parameters. Okay, what does that mean? It means maybe 10% of ChatGPT, something like that, in a local. They call it supercomputer. I don't think it's super. I think it's just good, but there will be better models later on. And that one, which Peder has ordered 2 of them, so he will be the 400 billion parameter model. It can cost 5,000 euros each. So it's not cheap, but it is something that you can use locally, offline. And these tools will only get better. The speed will go up. So you'll see how it goes. This is the picture of it. We already seen it, and you can see it afterwards and touch it as well. And the clicker is working. Yeah. So who controls the architecture? This is a question to all of us. Who controls it? In my opinion, in our opinion, the workers still don't control it, but it's more insights. It's more transparency. You are closer to the data. So you have the edge device, you have the workers, and the local processing, and the decision loop, which is local. It doesn't, you don't need to trust Microsoft. You don't need to trust any of these big tech companies. So who can expect, contest, and approve the decisions that are in the statistical models, really advanced statistical models? AI is not magic, it's not artificial, and it's not intelligent. It's the statistics. And the statistics can be good or bad in terms of results, but you can work with them in a different manner. So I had the 3 stories of worker autonomy and, local AI in the ward, in a hospital or something like that. So the data doesn't leave the hospital, but you have these local AI models used to statistically deal with imaging for, MRI or scanning or something like that. Decision support stays on site instead of staying in some cloud provider. Number 2, manufacturing. Sensors are all over the place in manufacturing, but instead of taking it online in the cloud, trusting them, you could do it locally. And the third one is IT development, open source models. There's a web portal called Hugging Face. You can just Google it. Hugging Face has, what is it now, 2 million? 2 million models on that site, and we're talking about ChatGPT and 4 more other. I mean, come on, there are 2 million of them out there, and making new ones can take hours instead of years. So there are lots of options out there. That's our main message really today. And then the question is, what holds us back? What is stopping us from using these tools technologically? And the convenience bias is there. It's so easy for the IT department to have a provider who says, we have Azure, and just use us, and we have Copilot for this and that, and everything is great. So cloud defaults feel effortless because you're pushing the risk towards the workers, you're pushing the risk elsewhere. And the perceived fragility of these local AI solutions, you could come here looking like hobbyists, do-it-yourself, basement AI, and that image needs to change. This is my challenge to people. You need to change that. Because, no, we don't come here, or he doesn't come here with the ISO 27001 certificate, and he doesn't come to you with all of that Amazon Web Services has, but then the data is closer to you. At the total cost of ownership, the egress fees, the data transfer fees, it's free to upload the data, but it's not free to use the data or to download it. Vendor lock-in we talked about. Vendor lock-in, again, Kristiansen, you mentioned Microsoft, the discount levels going down. Of course they can do it because you're locked in. And the audit workload are underestimated, so audits are really a big part of the picture here. Convenience, guys. It's so convenient. It's so easy to just go with the big ones. And I challenge that. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just challenging that. I just think there could be another narrative here. And Peder mentioned it before, sustainable use of AI. At least now you know whether it's, 5 kilowatts or 5,000 kilowatts of data being used per year to power the AI you're using locally, instead of, listening to the stories out there. And, yeah, so ownership, guys. Who should own the process, and where are the workers in this process? And I think we should explore these things more, and that's why we're here today, to talk about it. Peder, I'll let you use this quote.
Yeah, I love this one. I had a customer in Sweden, and I was going to Sweden to deliver an AI quality check in a factory. And I asked her, have you discussed with the union that I'm coming and implementing an AI solution? And she was, no. And I gave her this one and said, give this to the union and have a talk before I came. And I think if we involve the unions and we show them how to make an AI model like in 10 minutes, they can see the potential. And I think that is a really good way of thinking. Involve from the day one unions, let them see the potential in the technology, and they start to work. You know, I'm doing this boring job, so maybe I can automate that. And then they have more ownership to it. So I like this one, and continue.
Yeah. So that's it. Questions?
Very nice. Okay, hands up. I can see Charlotta.
Philip, Shari.
Philip.
Monty.
Okay. Of course, yeah. So I've got Charlotta, Philip, and Monty. Okay, and Gerard. Simon. That's it. No more. So we start with Charlotta. Oh my goodness.
Sorry, my mistake.
But it starts with a C, so that's fine. Raymond and Peder, that was just wonderful. Thank you. I have two questions. One of them is, what would it take to combine decentralized AI, like you've exemplified here, in a decentralized web? I'm thinking, could the unions, like within the E2C, I2C, could we create a decentralized web and in that way start sharing information safely? But my second question is as well, if we build our own large language model, and I could imagine lots of use cases, a collective bargaining database, we could query whatever, how do we prevent our own models in hallucinating? So,
Quite to the point. Philip.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Oui, alors tout d'abord, merci pour cette présentation excellente. La question que je me pose, puisque vous avez pris l'exemple d'IA locale, d'IA qui servent à un usage médical, et souvent ça sert à un usage médical pour le diagnostic, ce qu'on sait, c'est que pour qu'une IA soit efficace, il faut qu'elle ait accès au maximum de données. Et en particulier, c'est le nombre d'itérations, de remontée de gradient, comme on dit, qui va déterminer sa performance. Si on reste en local, est-ce que vous n'avez pas peur que ça limite les performances? Et puis, deuxième chose, au niveau européen, il y a des projets pour partager justement les données médicales sur des dossiers, enfin sur des questions comme les maladies rares, où on a besoin d'avoir un partage au niveau européen de cas de diagnostic et de traitements médicaux. Et là, on a absolument besoin de travailler en réseau. En local, c'est pas possible. Tout l'enjeu, justement, c'est de mettre les données en commun. Voilà. Donc, est-ce que c'est pas un peu contradictoire avec le fait de vouloir travailler en local? Parce qu'effectivement, je dirais, ouvrir un système, un moteur d'inférence, c'est une chose, mais ensuite, être capable d'avoir toutes les données et l'apprentissage et les remontées de gradient nécessaires, c'en est une autre. Merci.
Yeah, just straight to the point. If you work at an organization that is interested in this, where would you start? How could, especially an organization with, let's say, very limited IT expertise, and we would want to do this, what would be the first step?
Thank you, Gerard.
Yeah, it's a bit more about the European aspect of this, because where did you get the knowledge to do this? And like this model, it's a different model than the American hyperscaler model. So I think we need to scale, like if this works, we need to scale it, and it needs to be kind of, you know, when it comes to procurement, mostly I think also in the public sector, we should find, should stop a hold, put a hold and give this alternative. But how do you see that? How do you scale this on a European scale?
Thank you very much, Simon.
Yes, a similar question to Monty. I mean, we have several hundred local governments in Sweden. I mean, do you say it's simple, but you're also engineers? Would this be simple also for local government to implement? Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
So I'll start with the last one. I'm pretty sure that at least 40% of those municipalities have engineers working at the municipalities. So I think those engineers could, be asked about this, to be honest. It's easy, but no, it's not easy. It's easy to buy from Microsoft. That's easy, but it's not easy. It's not as easy to do it yourself. Christina, your question. What would it take to do this? I think what it would take is a will to try a pilot project. Invite 3 organizations, 1 person each, maybe work effort 10 hours in 1 month. This learning, iterative, step-by-step learning, and take it from there, honestly. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't talk about it for 2 years before you try.
The hallucination part.
Oh, hallucination. We'll never get rid of that. We will never get rid of statistical models, giving you wrong answers. But what you need to do is to also educate people to critically approach the data. So hallucinations will not go away. I'm not saying that.
Could I fill in on that?
Go
ahead. I just want to say that the video that I showed earlier, there's some settings. It's called temperature, and I put it very low. And a low temperature means it doesn't need to be creative. And if I wanted to make a book, I can turn up the temperature. But for your hallucination, keep it low temperature on the settings. And also, you all asked about distributed. And that is a good point because, like in Norway, we have rules of how we can exchange data, and then you have Sweden and Finland and that sort of thing. And I have a health project about the diabetic foot ulcer, and we are thinking about maybe taking images in Sweden and train on Sweden, and then just the findings we are sharing. So we don't share real images and that sort of thing. Yeah. By law, because we have different laws. Yeah.
And to the question in the back about what about sharing of data? Of course, universities and hospitals still need to do that. So we're not, again, this is not one size fits all. We are dealing with that in Norway as well. We have so much good health data that we're not using, and companies are not getting access to them, so we don't get the benefits of them. What about the images? You download a model which is trained on maybe 1 million images, and that model then goes offline afterwards, and then you add on more local images. But again, we can talk about it afterwards as well, if you have any further questions. But again, this is not one size fits all, because life never is.
And we also had a question about models.
Yeah, and how you scale up this ecosystem.
Yeah. I just want to say, because we are many from the Nordic countries here today, and language models that can transcribe from meetings and that sort of things to local local languages. In Norway we have a nynorsk and we have a Norwegian bokmål. And one good thing about OpenAI is that they have released a model called Whisper. So I recommend you notice this model name, Whisper. And I can download it, and it can transcribe meetings, recording of meetings in my dialects, even. So that's good.
Oh my goodness. Thank you very much, guys. That's a real inspiration, because it looks at the issue from completely different angle, like it's not the company that is imposing the technology, it's us. and using it fully, which is complete change of narrative we haven't heard yet today on this debate, you know, on this important issue. So it's a perfect example that workers' representatives could be in the lead, you know, and coming up with solutions that might be fit for the purpose of the local organization or of the trade union, where and how this could be developing. Let's wait and see. But I mean, I love it. Thank you so much. So we are happy because for sure you stay for the reception then afterwards, and I'm sure a number of people would just come up and enjoy exploring a little bit more. So thanks to this panel, thanks all of you, and we are getting to the last part